Hello there, fellow peregrinos. Welcome to El Camino de Santiago Pilgrims podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation, packing, tips, tricks, hacks, and all things inspirational to help you on your way to Santiago and beyond. My name is Bradley Chermside. I am the host and I am also the author of The Only Way is West, the best-selling Camino de Santiago memoir, and I have walked the Camino Frances, the French way. I've walked the Camino Portuguese, the Portuguese way. I've walked the Camino Inglés, the English way, and I've walked the Camino Finisterre. Enough about me, it is time to get into this week's episode. Lace up your boots, everybody. We're hitting the road. Hi there, fellow peregrinos. In this week's episode, we are talking to Pauline Wald, a French pilgrim who spent 7 years in the banking sector before embarking on the way of St. James, seeking meaning and wisdom. This journey changed her path entirely. With no prior audio-visual experience, she created the documentary Paths of Life, walking towards the essential and toured with the moving. She later studied psychology and became a psychologist. After walking towards your essential, which was her first book, she wrote a second book in French called Enseignements de la Montagne, which translates as Lessons from the Mountain. She now guides groups and individuals in writing their own books. So that's who we have the pleasure of talking to in this podcast episode. Let's get right into it. Pauline, what was the catalyst for you to leave your corporate job at 30 and decide to walk 2,000 kilometers across France and Spain?
So I was working in a banking group since 7 years, and I felt that I was just not in my own life. I was living the life that my parents chose for me, and also my teachers at school, because I always had good grades. And I felt that, I was not living my own life. I had some symptoms also of burnout because I was working so much. And I remember feeling that I needed to quit my job and I needed a big life-changing experience. I needed to find myself. So I took this very radical decision to quit my job and to start walking from my childhood house in Alsace, in Strasbourg, from France, in the Camino to Santiago. And actually, I heard about the Camino from someone. And I thought that it could be a very good starting point for me to go on my own way. And that it would provide a lot of ingredients that could help me to find myself and maybe to find the new direction of my life.
So I'm interested, you said symptoms of burnout, something so many of us have probably experienced. Can you describe those symptoms? Maybe people can relate to it and maybe it's time for them to go walk his too.
Of course. First, I had something that can be called like a mental storm. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's like I had some difficulties to think properly. Everything was a big blur in my mind. I was also losing my short-term memory a little bit. It's like, for example, I would go in my living room to take something and I would completely forget what I wanted to take in my living room. And a lot of stuff like this happened because this could happen to anyone. But I mean, a lot of short-term memory troubles, the storm in my couldn't think properly. In the morning, I would need so many coffee to be able to start my day. I had a lot of difficulties just to go out of my bed. And this tiredness, very deep tiredness. My mood was not so good. I was very pessimistic. And of course, the stress. I mean, everything was too stressful for me. I couldn't do anything. I was completely, everything would be a burden. I needed simplicity. That's why the Camino is great, is that you just have to walk and follow a path that has been already created for you. Don't have to ask yourself too many questions. And
In chapter 11 of your book, Walking Towards Your Essential, your book is called Walking
yeah,
Towards Your Essential.
exactly.
There it is, that beautiful work of art right there.
Thank you so much.
Masterpiece.
Thank you.
In chapter 11 of your book, Walking Towards Your Essential, you write, I remember the day my body said, stop. My alarm had gone off at 7 a.m. after a long night of work. I opened my eyes, tried to get out of bed, but my body didn't respond. I knew these were the first symptoms of burnout. What steps can those experiencing burnout in their jobs right now take to journey back to their essential and ultimately walk the Camino?
Mm. So I would say sometimes when you're experiencing symptoms of burnouts, your mind doesn't want to stop, because there is this survival issue, is that yes, we have to be able to eat and gain enough money. And it's very hard to slow down in this position. So for me, I would say first, acknowledge the symptoms, acknowledge your state, accept that you are in this state, and it's not a shame. I mean, we are not robots as human beings, and I think it's not your fault. It's the fault of the system. That's what I would say, is that it's just very normal that you're experiencing burnout in this moment of your life, because the system is just made for robots and we are not robots. So this is hard. And then you can try to remove as much things as possible from your agenda, to have more space and time to rest. I mean, to sleep as much as you can, and also to ask yourself some questions like, what do I really need right now? The answer could be, I just need to sleep and spend time with my family and do nothing. And then you can also ask yourself, what do I want? What do I really want? Maybe it's blur, maybe it's not clear, but at least try to write it down. That's what I was doing. I was writing a lot. And asking myself, what do I really need and what do I really want for my life? It was not so clear, but at least I had the beginning of something. And I would say, for me, I always try to go back to the basics. Like, I try to move my body a little bit every day. It could be just one walk every day, 30 minutes. I try to eat well, like sleep well. I try to go back to these basics. And if you can afford it, sometimes also seeing a therapist could be nice. I mean, it can help you to ask yourself the right questions. And of course, going on the Camino, if you're completely burnt out, it could be difficult. But you can begin by very small steps. So you can try to organize yourself to make, I don't know, 5 miles, 10 miles a day. I mean, yeah, that's what I would say.
That's a lovely answer. And I think what I pick out of that as well is movement is medicine. Okay. And that's why I think the Camino can be such a great place to go and heal, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional healing. I don't think there's any better place to do it. A friend of mine is going through a very, very hard time at the moment. And I've said to him, I think I know what you need. And I've planted that seed. And interestingly, I spoke to a guy yesterday in the last episode, Rick Prater, and he told his boss, give me a month off or I quit. He sold his apartment, sold his car, sold everything, said, look, I'm going to Europe. I'm going for a while. So, yeah, sometimes you have to, I think Tony Robbins, he says, take massive action. And
I love that.
Okay, sometimes massive action starts with a small step, but
exactly.
I think to think you need to take a big, big, big step, or at least visualize a big step. And yeah, burnout. I think so many people are going through it. Even though I'm self-employed, I remember going through it about 18 months ago when there was so much going on and I just put too much on my plate,
Yeah.
and it manifested for me in illness basically. So looking for those symptoms is really important, and then making that step to try and change it for your health more than anything. If we don't have health, we don't have anything.
So true.
So you were working for 8 years it was for a bank, you said?
Yeah, in a banking group.
For a bank. So I'm assuming it was a desk job, an office-based
Exactly.
job.
Totally.
So how do you make that profound, dramatic transition from being sat down to basically professional adventurer and get your body primed for long hours of continuous walking?
Wow. So about this question, I have to tell you that this Camino, I didn't do it for the sports achievement. And I'm not someone that is so much, I'm not the biggest walker, you know? So
Yeah.
what I did is that because I had time, I quit my job. I decided to take my time. I actually, my body was not so prepared, to be honest. I was walking a lot in Paris, in the street of Paris. You know, I love to walk always like 2, 3, 5, 7 kilometers, but not more than that. So the beginning was tough. And what I always say to people is that if you cannot really train yourself that much, try to make very small steps. So that's what I did. At the beginning, I was walking 10, 12, sometimes 15 kilometers per day. So my body could adapt gradually. But I suffered the first week. I had blisters. I had back pain, knee pain, all the problems you can have. I have them. And then the body is magical, is that it really gets used to it. And I could go a little bit further and do more kilometers. But usually what I love is 20 kilometers or 18 or, yeah, that's what I like. I like to enjoy.
That's the sweet spot.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also, like, I think what you said there is a lesson we've said many times on this podcast, is start small, gradually build. And it's interesting you said about the body healing itself. I mean, I worked with a guy to heal my knee. My knee bust during the pandemic, and he used to say to me, conservative rehabilitation, the body has an infinite capacity to heal itself.
Wow.
If you treat it right, if you put the right fuel inside it. And he's been proved right, because I'm doing everything I could always do when I was told that I would never be able to do that again by conventional physios. So
Wow.
I'm happy with that. And yeah, and we don't have to just pop pharmaceutical pills to get better. There are other ways. It's not the only way. There are other ways that have less side effects on the body, long-term side effects. So, and it's good to hear that you came through the knee pain, the back pain, the blisters, something that's completely normal. I think it's completely normal when your body is adapting to this kind of, it's kind of extreme what you do when you walk every day, day after day, hour after hour. It's kind of extreme. It's not something we do in everyday modern life. And it's an extreme dramatic change, but the body does adjust. And in the end, the body asks for more of it. Like it wants more of that. And that's the great thing. It's like everything's rewired, reprogrammed, factory settings.
Totally.
What are the main differences? I'm really intrigued. I ask this for my own curiosity as well, because love France. My wife and I drove through France this last summer, and such a beautiful place. Went to France as a kid on holidays, always had such a good time in the south of France. And I've always looked at the French portions of the Camino thinking, I wonder what that's like. So what are the main differences between walking in France and walking in Spain? Do you find albergues and yellow arrows dotted along the way in France like we do in Spain?
So I would say it's a little bit different, because actually you don't have this yellow arrow. You have other kind of signs. You would have, for example, a little comment on dit, how do you say it in English? I don't remember. But you would have like a little stray of colors, for example, as a sign, or a shell, for example, a little shell. So it could be signs like this. So it's a little bit different. I would say in France, the albergues are very different than the one in Spain. In France, it's private places. So you would have, you don't have big dormitories. You would have private albergues with maybe 10 beds is already a lot. So it's smaller. And you also have, of course, a bit less people. It depends on the parks. It depends on the moments of the year, of course. And you have, of course, more French than in Spain, in which you have more international people. The landscapes are amazing. Sometimes in Spain, you have to walk through a national road, right? In France, it's a little bit more, you don't have that too much. You have much more paths with, natural paths than concrete. I mean, I speak about the Camino Frances. So yeah, that's what I would say. Spain is much more international, and the dormitories are much bigger. But I love France, and a lot of people would say that they loved. I took the Camino du Puy, le Puy en Velay. It's called le Puy en Velay, and it's a very beautiful Camino with amazing landscapes, a lot of little mountains and very cute villages also. But to be very honest, I loved the spirit of the Camino Frances, like how to say that, like I could feel a little bit more the spirit of the Camino on the Camino Frances, but it's because we are closer to Santiago.
Okay. And so also when you're in France, do the French people say like the French version of Buen Camino, or is it not like that?
So sometimes they would say Buen Camino in Spanish, but yeah. And the translation in French is bon chemin. They would say bon chemin.
And people do that. It's normal to do that to your fellow pilgrims in France?
Totally.
Yeah?
Totally normal. Yeah, totally.
And in terms of prices, is it like municipal hostels in France, or is it more private places?
No, it's much more private places. And also it's more, I have to say it's more expensive also in France. This is something that has to be said. Because it's private. So, because in Spain, people are there, a lot of benevolent people who do that during their vacation and so on. In France, it's a little bit more expensive, yes, because they make a living and it's their place, they bought it. So it could be a little bit more pricey. It depends. There are also donativo in France, but you can always find solutions. So it's the Camino. It's still the Camino. So if you don't have that much money, you can find some solutions too. You have a little bit of donativo and.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because I was very curious to know what it's like between France and Spain. So if anyone's thinking of walking any French portions, then you know a little bit more about that now. So in chapter 14 of your book, Walking Towards Your Essential, you say, I'm tired of walking, packing my bag and changing places every day. I dream of spending a whole day slumped on a sofa doing nothing. But on the Camino, you have to walk even when you don't feel like it. I think those moments come to every pilgrim at some point on the road to Santiago. What advice can you give to help tired pilgrims get back on the road and overcome those inevitable moments of mental and physical exhaustion?
So I think this happens, usually it would happen to me, this big exhaustion, sometimes when I would suggest to ask yourself the question, did I force myself in any way lately? So it could be, did I force myself to walk too fast, too much? Did I force myself to interact too much? Maybe some people, they are more introverts. So sometimes on the Camino, if you are introvert, it could be a bit overwhelming to interact all the time. So I would ask myself, how do I feel? I try to ask myself regularly, how do I feel? And if I don't feel so good and if I'm tired of walking, I can also decide I will try not to take a decision to stop, for example. Don't take any decision, I would say. And if you can, maybe you can just make a break. Sometimes you just need a break, 1 day break in a place you love, in an albergue you love. It could be this. Or you can decide to walk a bit less. For example, when I was really tired, I don't remember if you speak about making a break when you already walk or when you want to make a break from the Camino because you are completely tired of the Camino, but I try to answer to both questions. But I would say, don't take any decision and also ask yourself, what kind of resources can I find? For example, maybe you need to speak with someone and meet someone you can speak about how you feel. Maybe you just need a very, very good plate of food, nourishing food. And sometimes I also realize that I forget to drink water, so I would be very tired and that's simple, but something
Yeah,
else.
sometimes it's back to basics. I remember a very bad moment on the Camino Frances, and I think I realized I had just been eating bocadillos for the last 6, 7 days,
Wow.
and I felt terrible. And I was like, why do I feel so bad? And then it dawned on me that, yeah, I haven't been eating properly. And that was when that moment of exhaustion hit me. And the first thing was to go back to basics, get some good food,
Mm.
get a good sleep, and then see how you feel. Maybe take a rest. Listen to your body. I think as basic as advice that sounds, it's advice that I am definitely guilty of forgetting and thinking I'm just a machine and can keep going and keep going and keep going. But no, your body will soon tell you. So when I was reading your book, these words resonated in chapter 11. Sometimes I also forget to listen to what's going on inside me and the need to take a break. So we just kind of mentioned it there. Apart from the obvious, what are those all important warning signs from within that you do need to take a break?
Yeah, for me, the first sign would be pain in my legs, very clear. If I'm listening, I can feel this pain in my legs. And sometimes it could be just like my breathing would be contracted, like I wouldn't breathe really well. And sometimes I would have a little bit of a headache or this is something I think as you said, listening to the body is always the most important. And for me, the Camino really helps me to do this because your body, you need it so much. It's like you need your body to go on. So I would say, try to make a body scan regularly. Like, how are my legs? How are my feet? How is my belly? And just feel it.
And I think one thing you said there as well was hydration. It's so important. Again, the episode back in I think the late 80s with Bill Paravano, the guy who's like he's like the knee guru, the knee pain guru, and he said basically there's a natural Gatorade where you squeeze a lemon, Celtic sea salts, drink
Wow.
like a pint of that stuff, and the lemon and the Celtic sea salt allows your joints to absorb the water instead of the water going straight through you. And it's so it's a magic potion.
Wow.
No pharmaceuticals, magic potion. I notice the difference when I have it and when I don't have it. So hydration, definitely. So walking 2,000 kilometers, Pauline, across France and Spain. What are your favorite albergues? Please give me one albergue in France and one in Spain. What the specific recommendation the listeners can go and stay in.
Okay. So I did a longer list, but I will give you the best in each country. So for me, okay, let me see. Okay. In France, I would say my favorite albergue it's called La Petite Lumière. It's in Moissac. I speak about it in my book. It's held by a woman called Anne. Anne, she did the Camino, and after the Camino, she wanted to open an albergue, and she went to this little village called Moissac that she loved because there is a convent and so on. And she did a prayer to Virgin Mary asking for house. And this is a true story. At this moment, it's crazy. There were a guy passing by near her, and he was also contemplating the Virgin Mary. It's a statue of the Virgin Mary on a little mountain. And she spoke with this guy, and he said, my aunt or my uncle is selling this house. And the house was just in front of the statue of Virgin Mary. And the house is the albergue that she opened on the Camino. And I love this place because of her, especially, and also because Moissac is so beautiful and the view from the house is beautiful. So this is for
Would you
friends.
please send me, after the interview, if you could send me a link to that place, I will put it on the Camino de Santiago Pilgrims podcast Facebook page so people can find it. And the one in Spain as well, please.
Yeah, the one in Spain is, I loved the Albergue Verde.
Albergue Verde.
Albergue Verde in Hospital de Órbigo because of the atmosphere there. I had an amazing evening and people were chanting and the food was amazing and there was some magic there happening.
It's a nice town to stay in as well.
Yes, definitely.
It's that you walk across the bridge to get there, don't you? The old Roman bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember it very well. Yeah, remember it very well. All right, so Albergue Verde, the green albergue, that translate the Albergue Verde, Verde in Hospital del Órbigo. We'll stick a link to that as well, so you can find it. A bar and restaurant. Everyone loves places to eat on the Camino. We love these recommendations. Can you remember a place in what could be in France and or Spain?
So, to be honest, I didn't notice too much, like wrote down too much the names of the place. So it was hard for me to tell you exact names, but there were one place in Spain that I loved and I hope it's still open. It's called La Casa de los Dioses. It's actually, it's kind of a bar, but it's like an outdoor bar. It opens by a guy. His name is David. He just put some little tea and coffee in front of his very modest house in the countryside. It's near Astorga. And if you write La Casa de los Dioses, you will find it on internet. I think he's still there. I hope so. And I spent a lot of time there drinking the tea and eating all the little stuff he put, the fruits, and it was amazing.
Lovely recommendation. And there's a nice place to visit in Astorga as well. There's a Gaudi, I think there's a Gaudi building of some kind there. I can't remember exactly what it is. But La Casa de los Dioses.
Yes.
We'll find that and we'll stick a link on the Facebook page as well. And that translates as the house of the gods, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, food for divine food by the sounds of it. Right. The next question that we have for you, Pauline, is you wrote that in your book, Walking Towards Your Essential, that you like to walk solo. 53% of our listeners on this podcast are women. So what's the number one safety tip for your fellow solo female walkers? Number one safety tip.
Okay. Number one would be listen to your feeling and your intuition. If you don't feel the vibe of a place or people, don't stay there. Just listen to this. You have your inner GPS inside of yourself and leave if you need to leave. I had this situation. I didn't feel a guy that were taking care of an albergue in Spain in November. And I tried to listen to this kind of feeling and it's not.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
if you've heard this expression in English, we say like a gut feeling, like an
yeah,
instinct, a gut feeling.
exactly. That would be my number one advice. And I would also say that a lot of women are afraid of going on the Camino, but to me, it feels very safe to walk on this Camino. And there is not a lot of stuff happening, fortunately. We are quite protected, but there is no zero risk. So, of course, try to be very listening to this gut feeling.
Excellent advice. Thank you, Pauline. So you not only did you write a book, Pauline, walking towards your essential, you made a film. You
Yes.
made a film as well. We'll tell everyone the name of that film.
So this film is called Path of Life, with S in path, Path of Life.
And how did the idea form to write a book and a film? Was it while you were walking or
Yeah,
afterwards?
totally, while walking. This is a crazy story. So I told you I was having a burnout. I was in the banking group. And at this moment, I opened the YouTube channel and I was, during my vacations, sometimes I was doing small interviews of people about happiness. And when I decided to work on the Camino, I took a very small camera. Actually, it's this one. It's kind of light. There were no good smartphones because this was already a little bit of years ago, my first Camino. And I decided to interview pilgrims, asking them, why do you walk? And how do you feel? And what does it bring into your life to walk the Camino? And I wanted to put that on my YouTube channel, but I was so inspired by these interviews. And I had this huge intuition and I had goosebumps when it happened. It was like, I knew I had to do a movie about the Camino. So I decided to do a movie and I had absolutely no experience, zero experience in movie making and so on. And I decided to follow this idea. So I kept on interviewing pilgrims and I met a pilgrim and he helped me. He filmed me so I could have images of me walking too. And this is a crazy story because when I arrived back home after the Camino, I had some people that helped me to make it better, like to make a better version in terms of sound and images. So I was helped a little bit by people from this field. And today I'm making a tour in cinemas all across France. This is completely crazy with this movie, the French version.
Wow.
And yeah, it's also on Amazon.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's thank you so much.
So
It's
it's
for me,
going
it's
to
really the
be,
magic of the Camino.
so please tell us more about this tour.
Sorry, what did you say?
About this, you said there's a tour of cinemas across France. So please tell us more about this.
Okay. So now I'm having 80 dates in cinemas planned. I already did some and I have like 70 more dates in 2026 already planned. Maybe there would be more. And my movie is projected and then I'm making questions and answers about the Camino and I'm signing my book. And it's like there are a lot of people, about 100, 200, sometimes even 300 people on these cinemas. And I love it. And yeah, it's a bit crazy. It's a bit crazy.
What I really like about this is that it was so unlikely, so unthinkable, maybe when you were staring out of that window in your office. And I think it's inspirational for anyone that wants to make a change because it shows that the unthinkable, the seemingly impossible is completely doable just by taking short, purposeful steps towards what you really want. And I really, really like that. And it just, in English, we have an expression where there is a will, there is a way. And you you had the will and somehow you found a way. And I love that. It's going to be music to many people's ears thinking, oh, I couldn't make this change. I couldn't leave my job. You've proved this possible. And it's a real happy ending, even though we're not at the end of the interview. It's nice to hear that you've gone from that moment of staring out of your office window to burned out to about to embark upon a tour of French cinemas, which is it's just lovely. It gives me goosebumps as well. So it's
Thank you so much.
yeah, I'm so happy for you. So happy for you. And on your website you write it's a film to reveal the magic of the path. To you, Pauline, what is the magic of the path?
So the story of how this movie was made is an example, is that I was on this Camino, honestly, and I have myself goosebumps when I speak about that. But I was walking and I was asking myself, what can I do in my life? I want to bring something special. I want to be myself and bring something to this world. And I was praying kind of, and to the spirit of the Camino. And sometimes I was even having panic attacks, walking and thinking about my future and thinking, what can I do? I'm lost and so on. And when I had this idea of doing this movie, honestly, it felt like a whisper from the Camino itself. And then I was helped. I had, of course, it was effort and work and devotion, but I was also helped a lot on the Camino and after the Camino. And this is an example of magic, is something I speak in my book, is synchronicities, is that you want something and you kind of tell it to the world, and then you let go and something happens and give you some answers to that. And it could be more simple than doing this movie. It could only be, okay, you think about someone and the person calls you. But in the Camino, you're more receptive to this. And you have less preoccupation about your everyday life. You are more free to see this magic that is already
More open.
Yeah, you're more open. And I also believe that you have so many people on this Camino who are on the same, they sometimes they quit their life, they are in life transition, they really want to, they are walking in the same direction and they have time and they are very open also. So we create magic together, like stuff begin to happen. And this is something it happens to me many ways, that I wanted to stop walking and I would meet someone that we would have a very inspiring conversation. And then I would say, okay, I don't want to stop walking anymore. I want to continue. Yeah.
It charges the conversation, sometimes uplifts you and charges you and gives you energy, doesn't it?
Yes. This is
and like you say, the magic is the synchronicities.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I feel. And I have a feeling, I mean, with your book, that it's also something completely crazy that happened to you. I mean, I don't want to spoil everything, but the way your book begins. Wow.
Yeah, it's but this is not about me. This is about you. So thank you for mentioning that. But no, I mean, it's what you described so far is kind of similar to me in terms of I didn't think to write a book. It just happened along the way, and here we are, both doing something we enjoy. So that's the most important thing. Now, just like pilgrims can go on a lap of honor from Santiago to Finisterre and walk an extra 100 kilometers to the Atlantic Ocean, we're going on a lap of honor round of questions right now. So, Pauline, short, sharp, quick answers to these questions, if that's okay. Favorite Camino blog, book, vlog, and or film, apart from your own, of course?
Classical, I would say The Way. It's a bit too classical, I know.
Choice of rucksack and why? Choice of backpack and why?
So I had a 36 liters backpack, very light, from the brand Deuter. I loved it because it was so light. Light when it's
How
empty.
light? How light? How much did you carry on your back? Do you know more or less?
I went from 11 kilos to 5.5, which is completely crazy. I had
5.5. Wow, that's impressive. I carried 6-ish, and with water and food, it was about 7-ish, something like that. So,
Oh, wow.
but any more than that's too much. I thought, but choice of footwear and why.
So my shoes were from the brand Mendel, which is a German brand. It's in leather, very comfortable. And I still have these shoes after so many kilometers, so many thousands of kilometers.
They are the lucky boots.
Boots, yeah.
Biggest mistake you made when you first started?
Walking too fast, just because I wanted to follow another pilgrim, and having a beginning of tendonitis.
We've all been there. Camino themed social media personality, YouTube account you recommend following?
Sorry if she's French, but I had only her name that popped up. She's called Sylvie, and she has a YouTube channel called the Radio Camino, and she's amazing. If there are some people speaking French here.
Please send me the link to that if possible. I'll put it on the page, and YouTube translates stuff, so they can, even English speakers can get some of that. So thanks for the recommendation. Where can you find a Camino hidden gem, a town, city, or village that people don't really talk about?
So in France, you would know about it, but maybe not for the English speaking people here. I loved the city of Conques, Conqueus. I will send you also the name. It's a small village without any cars possible. It's really in the countryside, and there is a mystical atmosphere. I love it.
And one in Spain, perhaps?
What did you say?
And do you one in Spain you can recommend?
Oh, sorry. In Spain, it's not hidden gem, but I loved hanging around the Monsebrero, the Cebrero place, this Monsebrero.
Yeah, the peak on the Camino Frances. Yeah.
Exactly. I loved spending time in this peak. Instead of going directly down, I spent a lot of time there, and it was snow. There was some snow.
Wow.
I loved it.
Incredible views as well.
The view. Yeah. I love this place.
One thing you wished you'd packed?
So I bought expensive gaiters that I never used when it was raining.
Okay. And one thing you didn't need and wouldn't take again?
Oh, sorry.
I think you just answered that question. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Let's do this. We'll say that last answer was the answer to my last question. And I'll ask you this one more time. One thing you wished you'd packed?
I wished I would have packed a small microphone, because in order to register some pilgrims, because I had only this camera but no microphone. So for my movie, this is a little bit sad. We had to make a lot of work with the sound engineer.
Okay. A quote or mantra for tough times on the road?
My mantra would be, it will pass, tomorrow will be another day.
Beautiful. A guilty pleasure you may have carried with you, like a Netflix or something like anything. Netflix?
Oh, you may have carried if possible. Okay, interesting.
Not everyone has a guilty pleasure they carry with them, but something like, I don't know, music or something. Some people come up with some crazy answers to this.
Okay. If I could have carried a very comfortable sofa with wheels, that I don't need to walk, that I can
good idea. Or maybe an inflatable sofa. You just blow it up and then you just sit down anywhere you go. Good idea. Maybe that's an idea. When we're walking, snacks. We can never have enough snacks. What's your go-to snack?
So what I love is chocolate. I mean, a lot of cacao in it, not too much sugar, with nuts or almond chocolate. I love that.
Some almond chocolate. And I love to put a banana with that as well. That sounds perfect. Okay,
Really.
so we can move on to the longer form answers now for the last few questions. Where are we? Important one to me, this as well. On your Facebook page, you write that you're currently right now on a break and you've needed to disconnect from screens. This is something I'm really big on. And for anyone that's interested in this as well, I recommend they go and listen to an audio book called The Dose Effect by TJ Power. Dose standing
Wow.
for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, how screens are messing up with all our hormones. Really, really interesting listen. And everyone that listens to this podcast know that I'm an advocate of switching off screens while walking. Would you recommend pilgrims disconnect from screens while walking? I know
Of
this is a
course.
very unpopular question, and I'm in the minority here. And why should they do that?
Of course, I recommend pilgrims to disconnect from the phone. It's one of the advice I give the most, even when I'm doing my movie projections now. Simply because if you are on your phone, you're missing what's going on the Camino, and there is so much magic happening. For example, in the Albergue, I met so many inspiring people because I was not on my phone. And what I love to do is keep my phone in my backpack, use it only if I really need it. For example, I'm looking for my road, and I was trying, I told my family that I told them, I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you afterwards, but I cannot spend hours on the phone telling everything I'm doing. During the Camino, I posted one picture during 4 months, which is crazy, right? Now I'm a lot on social media because I wanted to promote my book and my movie, but honestly, I need regularly a break because if I'm too much on social media, even today, even if I'm not on the Camino, I'm less creative. I have less ideas, and I love to write also, and I'm less creative. My mood is less good because you see other people and you compare yourself, of course, to these people. And on the Camino, I mean, I would say it could be hard to let your phone on your backpack during the day, even during the evening, but after some time, you will start to feel a bit more present. It's really something I advocate so much. And you can also have new ideas coming in your head because you're gonna be more free. You're gonna have more space. Because when you are always consuming information, you have less space to host the new. That's what I would say.
I agree with every single word. And a good place to start with that is to just not be on your phone for the first half hour when you wake up, because the first hit of dopamine that you get, your body wants more of it. So if your first hit of dopamine is from going outside and having a coffee, if it's taking the dog for a walk, if it's walking around the block, then your body craves more of that. Whereas if it's on your phone, get a notification, your body craves more of that. And I can only say I noticed the difference. If I'm not on my phone, I feel so much better in every single way. And it's not easy to do because the phones are set up to hack our brain chemistries. But I know what I'm saying is unpopular, but I really believe in it, and I say it because it does me good, and I think it does everybody good. We're not built for this constant hit of dopamine that we get every single minute of every single hour. It actually drains us. So thanks for agreeing with me. There are 8 pieces of advice you give in your book, and you say the 8 pieces of advice I would have liked to receive before embarking on my journey. Please choose which one you think is the most important. They'll have to read your book to see the other 7 pieces of advice.
Okay, so I would say, I think we already spoke a lot together today about listening to the body. I would say find your own pace for walking the Camino. So don't force yourself to walk a number of kilometers. Maybe some days you will walk 10 kilometers, others 25. Try to really listen. And I always say that if you force yourself to walk too fast, you will be obliged to slow down after that. And this is one of the advice I give. And every time I had problems like this tendonitis, it's when I followed someone and I walked too fast. But sometimes also you don't want to walk too slow. Sometimes too slow can also be annoying. So it's really about finding your own rhythm.
Find your own pace. For the other 7 pieces of advice, please buy Pauline's book, Walk Towards Your Essential. Okay, so we've spoken a lot about this. Where can pilgrims find you online, your book, your film, your website, everything they need to know? Because you've done so well, done so much since you quit your job. You're now a pilgrim personality.
Thank you so much. I would say thank you for telling that, even if I don't feel so much like this, but this is basically what apparently happened. So this book, it's on Amazon, so you can find it in paperback and Kindle. My movie, which is called Path of Life, you can find it on Amazon Prime if you have it, or you can also find it on my website. You can buy the link on my website directly. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Walking Towards Your Essential, Pauline Wald. And I like to share some little wisdom from the Camino, little stories that I don't necessarily share in my book or in my movie. Sometimes I also share little extracts from my book. And recently I just created this little notebook. It's a notebook in which you have questions to ask yourself every day during 25 days. It's related to the Camino. It's really about, for example, noticing synchronicities, noticing magic in your life, or writing, okay, how do I feel? What do I need to feel good? So it's inspired by the Camino, and I just released it.
And please hold that book to the screen so we can see the title of that book.
So it's called Journeying Towards Your Essential. It's like how do you apply the advice from my book, my first book, in your everyday life? It's questions, writing questions you can answer that will help you to journey towards your own essential and transform the Camino in your own way in your everyday life also. So
it's like homework after your Camino.
What did you say?
It's like homework. You know, when you go to school, you have to do work at home after your Camino. Homework, but important work.
It's the most important work.
My battery on my phone is about to run out, so I'm gonna I've fully charged it, but Pauline, we always like to end on a high. So a Camino song. What's at the top of your Camino playlists?
So I love the song Pilgrim from Enya. Do you know Enya?
I know one song from Enya. Sail away, sail away, sail away. That one.
So actually this song from Enya is not so known. It's called Pilgrim. And I heard it in an Albergue, and it's like something I love. And maybe I cannot chant it entirely, but I can make a little bit of it to be like.
Okay, I will put the song on the I will attach the song to the Facebook post so everyone can hear it. You don't have to sing it, don't worry. Unless you want to, of course, but
you can just put it on the Facebook, but it's one sentence from this is like, Pilgrim, it's a long way to find out who you are. This is the lyrics that really spoke to me.
That's a lovely thought to finish on. Pauline Wald, author, cinematographer, touring France right now, Amazon Prime. It is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to have you on Pilgrim's podcast. I'm sure the listeners are going to get a lot out of it. And also, I must say thank you for speaking in English as well. I know that must be quite daunting to do. This is your first interview in English, so thank you very much for that. Your English is impeccable, by the way.
Amazing.
Much
Thank you
better
so
than my
much.
French, for sure. So I'm sure the listeners will appreciate the extra effort you've done for that as well. And for your next Camino, I'll just like to say bon chemin and buen camino.
Thank you so much. Bon chemin to you too. And thank you for having me on your podcast. It was really very nice for me.